What's up guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. Today we are bringing you another episode of Rate My Tank, so make sure you stay tuned to find out more. Hey Fanatics family, welcome back. As always, check out those links in the description. Make sure if you're from the USA to check out Jimmy Goldfish USA and use code JimmyGF at the checkout to get 10% off your order. Also, for our UK viewers, make sure to check out Star Fisheries. They have an absolutely huge new premises and have some absolutely amazing fish in stock, which they can ship nationwide to your door. So let's crack on straight to today's video. We are going to be bringing another episode of Rate My Tank. Now, I might quickly say, if you want your tanks featured on Rate My Tank or on Tank Tours, pop me an email down below. The link is in the description, fancygoldfishfanatics@gmail.com if you want your tank featured on the channel. But I'm going to put a few videos I found on YouTube from other goldfish content creators, other goldfish channels, and I'm going to do another Rate My Tank episode on that. I believe the last one worked quite well, and it was quite interesting to see some pre-uploaded old videos of goldfish tanks that have been on YouTube for many years, and also some newer ones as well. Different tanks, different setups, different styles of fancy goldfish as well. So just giving you my ratings on those tanks, what I think, what are the positives, what are the negatives, what can be improved. As always with all of the Rate My Tanks, there is no hate, there is no bullying, nothing like that. We are all positive vibes here, and everyone has their own goldfish techniques, and if everyone can stand by what they do and they can back it up, what they do for their goldfish, then I'm all for that, and I love that everyone has their own techniques. So let's get straight into the video. I'm going to get the first of 4 tanks on the screen for you now, let you know what I think about it, my rating, and then we can finish up at the end.
A few moments later.
So first up, as you can see, we have this lovely Oranda tank. By the looks of it, this tank looks like it could be made out of acrylic, and it looks to be around the 30-gallon mark. Quite a nice simplistic setup. We can see the bubble wall in the background. It's got a nice light unit over the top of it. Looking at the center of the tank, just behind the plant, we can see there is a tube. I believe that is probably going to be a overhead filter, or a hang-on back filter I should say, as there are no other tubes going in or out of the tank, which would suggest it's not using a canister filter. So potentially this tank has a small hang-on back filter. Potentially I would look at upgrading that or slightly increasing that to maybe 2 hang-on back filters. As you can see in the video, these 2 Orandas are quite a large size, so they're probably going to be consuming quite a lot of food, and I would say to keep up with the maintenance on this tank with the current filter setup, you may be looking at doing a couple of water changes every single week if you're giving the fish enough of a healthy diet and enough food to sustain their weight. However, the fish look absolutely great. The quality looks really nice in these fish. They've got no frayed fins, they've got no redness, nothing like that. They look to be really happy. Although I potentially think about upgrading the tank is quite nice. I really like the simplicity. There's no substrate. There is a lovely Amazon sword in the middle of the tank in this nice glass container. I quite like the setup, nice and simplistic. Overall, I would probably change the filtration on this tank. Maybe look at increasing the tank size. So overall, I'm going to give this tank 3.8 out of 5 stars. Really love the fish, great fish, great quality. But overall, I would like to change a few different things to increase the quality of life of the fish. So next up, as you can see, we have another Oranda aquarium. However, this one is slightly more stocked. It's got quite a few more fish than the last one we saw. You can see on the back right hand corner, it looks to be a moving bed filter, which is quite cool, nice and contained within the aquarium. And then if you look right at the top of the screen, you'll be able to see an overhead filter, which looks like it's got quite a range of different ceramic and different biomedias in there, which is really good for the fish. I really like overhead filters as they reoxygenate and degas the water. They also seem to really do well with clarity if you can use a bit of filter fleece or some fine foams in there to really purify the water, make sure it's nice and clean. And as we can see, this tank is looking extra clean, really nice and clean. You can see we've got a couple of air stones as well, which are further adding to the oxygenation and aeration with the tank. And although I would say this tank is probably right on the limit of the stocking level, the fish look really active, really happy and super healthy. We've got lots of aeration going into the tank. We've got that aeration coming from the overhead filter, and it looks to be that overhead filter could have quite a few different layers, which are potentially allowing many kilos of biomedia and ceramic media to be within the filter, purifying and detoxifying the ammonia and nitrite in the aquarium. I really like this tank. The quality of fish is very nice as well. They all look super happy and super healthy. The only thing I would say I'd like to change about this tank is where the pump is for the overhead filter. I maybe like to neaten that up a little bit, maybe have a straight pipe going up, maybe try and reduce the size of the pump so it's not getting in the way too much and the cable is neatened up a little bit more, maybe using a smaller strainer for instance. And I'd probably make the air stones a little bit more even, a bit more central within the tank, and potentially look at putting another one of those fluidized reactors that is in the back right hand corner on the left hand side, or potentially removing that from the aquarium and adding a few more stages to the top of the overhead filter. But overall, I really like the tank, lovely fish. I'm going to give this tank 4.1 out of 5 stars. So here we have the third tank of the video. As you can see, this is a mixed fancy goldfish tank. So we've got some Oranda, we've got some Ranchu, we've got some telescope eyes, and a lovely Ryukin on the left hand side. It seems to be struggling a little bit with the buoyancy, but it looks very nice fish, very good quality. This tank looks to be quite a simple setup. Looks like it's got a fluval canister filter on it, a heater in the back, so it looks like the temperature is being maintained at a stable level, which is great to see. There are many ornaments in this tank, and personally, my personal preference would be to remove those. They reduce the space that the fish have. They can potentially have sharp edges, allowing the fish to knock into them. Generally, this is fine with most species of fish, but as you will notice with the telescope eye, for instance, that we can see here, they are very delicate fish and can easily damage themselves. And any ornaments I see in aquariums, I feel they need to be really smooth, really have no protruding or sharp edges that the fish could potentially hurt themselves on. As this tank is heated, the fish may like to spawn multiple times a year, for example, and it only takes one spawning to occur for the fish to start knocking into ornaments and bashing each other up against everything. So to try and make sure these delicate fish are kept in as pristine condition as possible, I would tend to remove ornaments from the tank and make sure it is kept in a nice, clean and simple fashion. Obviously, it is down to the personal taste, and everyone has their own choices, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what I would say to do if it was my opinion. Maybe they could add some nice substrate with maybe some planters in the back of the tank. I've seen people use terracotta pots filled with a bit of gravel and some Amazon swords, which adds a nice bit of decor, nice bit of greenery and a bit of vibrancy to the tank. However, it is also nice and easy to clean the tank still. You can move the pots around when doing gravel vacuuming, etc. Overall, I really like the mixed variety of fish in this tank. However, there would be a few things I'd change. Also, maybe put a background on the tank, neaten things up and make things look a little bit more symmetrical personally. So I'm going to overall give this tank a 3.7 out of 5 stars. Lovely setup, but overall there was quite a few things I'd like to change about it. And finally, we are on to the last tank. This is an absolutely huge fancy goldfish tank. You'll also notice there are some silver sharks or bala sharks in the tank as well. So I assume this tank is in the temperature range of about 25 degrees plus. So the fish are always going to be at the top of their metabolism and constantly looking for food. We can see a range of plants within the tank, some Valis, some Amazon swords. The tank is looking really clean. Potentially it's just had a clean, but there are loads of fancy goldfish in this tank and it is an absolutely huge setup. I really like the use of the stones and the rocks to complement the plants. It kind of gives it that natural vibe, that natural feel, allowing the fish to rummage through the substrate, giving them lots of enrichment throughout the tank. We can really see this huge size of this tank. It looks to be maybe 500 to 600 litres, and the owner is clearly adding a few more fish. There is a full shot of the tank, absolutely loads of fish. I would say this tank is definitely on the overstock size, although it is a large, potentially 500, 600, 700 litre tank. As you can see on the screen, 100 goldfish in this tank is definitely overstocked. So there needs to be some mega filtration on this tank. Potentially a large sump would really help with controlling the nutrients coming into the tank from the huge amount of food that is going to be entering the tank. So potentially the owner is using a sump on this system. With a few canister filters, it's definitely not going to hack it with the huge bioload this tank has. For a system this size, with this number of fish, you definitely need to be looking at a sump route. Plenty of kilos of ceramic and biomedia, lots of filter foams as a pre-filter, and potentially some filter fleece to really purify and clarify the water, and lots and lots of water changes. The nitrates, I assume, will go quite high in this tank and very quickly. Although there is quite a few different plants in the tank, they're not going to be doing a really good job at removing those nitrates, because they won't be able to keep up with the pure biomass and bioload of these fish. So really regular water changes would be advisable for this tank, along with a really well set up sump. However, I do really like the system. The setup is absolutely lovely. Personally, if it was me, I'd like to have maybe 20 to 30 fancies rather than 100. Maybe some slightly larger ones that have a bit more personality, a bit more features to them. Maybe focus on quality over quantity. But overall, I really like what the owner has done with this tank, and it looks absolutely great. This is probably my favorite tank of the video, and I'm going to give this tank 4.3 out of 5 stars. Absolutely love the tank. Would reduce the stocking density a little bit, and also would love to see the filtration set up maybe in the future. Absolutely great tank. That's the end of the 4 videos of the fish that we've had on, so I'm just going to now wrap up the video. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed that extra episode of Rate My Tank and really enjoyed the 4 tanks that we had on the channel today. Now, I know some of the tanks we do loop over, and a few of them are in slow motion, just so those videos extend into the video and we can really dive deep into them and talk about all of those positive, negative, improvements, weaknesses, everything like that of the different tanks. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more Rate My Tanks, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of the video or how I can improve it myself. Also, if you want to have your tank on the channel, make sure to email me down below. And if you've got any other video ideas, or you have some different videos that you want on the channel, then also let me know down below. Thank you all for watching. As always, remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.